Thank you all for making time. Happy Monday. This is our monthly community-focused Goleta Rap meeting where we discuss the impact of homelessness throughout the city of Goleta. My name is Landon Rank. I'm the Associate Director with SB Act, and this is a partnership with the city of Goleta as a part of our kind of broader South County efforts. And so I'm joined by Chuck Flax, the Homeless Services Coordinator for the city of Goleta, and we also have Mayor Perotti with us. So thanks everybody for being here. I think most of the people on this call already know each other, but if we do have anybody new, I may ask us to put names in the chat. So just a few general announcements as we get started. One is that Chuck and I will be at the Meet Me in Old Town event on Thursday the 10th from 5 to 8. This is a fun tabling event for Old Town businesses and community groups. And so we encourage you to come on out. It's in front of the Goleta Community Center that evening. Our purpose being there is mainly just to talk to community members about sort of what to do if they're encountering issues related to homelessness and how they can help the people that are experiencing homelessness. Um, so we'll be just trying to meet with community members and businesses there, but we encourage you all to come out and check out the event.
Oh, hi,
And
Emerson.
then our next meeting focused on the community like this will be at the end of July, the 28th. So we hope you're able to join us then. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to Chuck to share updates from the city of Goleta. So I'm going to make you a co-host. All right, Chuck, you should have co-host privileges now.
Great. Can people see my screen?
Almost, yes.
That's weird. It's not giving me the usual. So you see the data report?
Yes.
Okay, that's weird. They're always changing Zoom. Hang on a second. I'm gonna. Having trouble figuring out like how to control this thing. All right, there we go. Okay, very good. So welcome everybody. So every month I try to report on how we're doing. The data that I'm showing is a combination of data from the by name list that I keep, which I update monthly as well. And that's informed by the Homelessness Management Information System, or HMIS. And this top chart is the large blue bars show the last 3 months and overall counts of homeless people based on my records. And we see a slight decline. So things are kind of going in the right way. But there's a caveat to that I'll get to. The dark blue bars are people living in encampments. That's where we're seeing some decline. And that's thanks to the outreach efforts of many of the people on this call, getting people into shelters and into housing. You can see the total number of people in shelter in Goleta is consistent at around 60 people. And then the total number of vehicles, and this is the caveat, is these are people that have signed up for homeless services who are living in their vehicles. So that number of 37 for May is pretty low. And you'll see what I mean by if you look at the next chart. So what I've counted in Goleta, based on the New Beginnings ongoing mapping efforts, is that there are 178 vehicles with people living in them in Goleta. And as you can see, that would be in addition to the third, or it would include the 37, I would hope. But it's a significant number, roughly 150 people who are homeless, living in their vehicles, but who don't interact and haven't taken advantage of homeless services. In my opinion, this is the largest issue that we're facing in homelessness now, not just for Goleta, but for the whole county. There are quite a few people living in vehicles. There's a meeting that I'm actually going to go to on Wednesday. It was a study done of people living in their vehicles in Western Los Angeles. And from the findings there, I think we can get a sense of kind of what's going on with this. I think a lot of people are working. I think a lot of people are on fixed incomes and don't believe that they can afford the rent in Goleta. And so the vehicles represent an alternative for them. It's not a matter of believing. So just an example, there's a new apartment project that got built recently, and they actually advertised to the staff at the city of Goleta. We got a copy of the listing, and it showed a one-bedroom apartment, 700 square feet, and the listing was $4,685 a month. I'm just gonna let that sink in. That's a one-bedroom for $4,685, 700 square feet, which is not much bigger than my office. Um, that's what we're up against. I mean, that's why people are living in their vehicles. That's why we're seeing, and we'll see with the point in time count that there's an increase in homeless people, largely in vehicles. So, and that helps to explain the next chart, which is our newly identified versus housed per month. So, we are housing people. In the last year, we've housed 82 people. But unfortunately, we've gotten 184 new people in the last year. So that gives you the sense of kind of where we're at. It's kind of one step forward, two steps back in terms of people newly becoming homeless. And so it's a challenge, and it represents, the city of Goleta. We just had a budget presentation, and the city of Goleta is being very generous to homeless services, spending nearly $1 million out of its general fund on homelessness. But these are larger structural issues that we're going to be addressing. And I always do this in our meetings. I always commend all of you for the hard work that you're doing. And I think that where we're focusing our efforts, we are seeing results. We are seeing a reduction in the encampments. We are seeing people who come through here who are traveling being moved along and given alternatives or told, help to find other places to live. But the big issue here is really vehicles. Just a sense of kind of who some of these folks are. We have a pretty large percentage of people over 55, 37%. We have a handful of people who are transition age youth. And the good news about this number is all of these folks are housed in some kind of shelter. There's a home in Goleta where people are in interim housing for up to 2 years. And so 6 of these folks are in that program. And then finally, the small number of veterans, all of these veterans are connected to services. All of these veterans we hope will be housed within the next few months. So I keep hoping that we'll get to 0 with veterans in the short term. Any questions about the data? I'm not seeing any hands.
Can you say anything more about it? To me, it just seems like, I don't know, it seems pretty, it's a bad sign that more and more are living, it's like going to a whole different strata or ring of Dante's world. It's that it's people forced to live that normally, a lot of people that normally would have been able to find some sort of housing, but even more just compelled to live in their home, their vehicles. I don't know. Is there any other background info or any thinking you have about it? To me, it seems like there should be a big alarm to city of Goleta and city of Santa Barbara.
I agree with you 100%. In my opinion, so it was already a big alarm.
Yeah.
And this is the unfortunate proof of the research that's been coming out, which shows that homelessness is clearly a function of housing costs. And so initially what we saw with homelessness was a decline in single room occupancy hotels all up and down the state, and also a decline in mental health beds. And so a lot of the people that we have identified as homeless are people that have suffered because of the lack of treatment programs and treatment beds for people, and also just very cheap alternatives for people who are not necessarily interested in living, sort of conventional apartments, conventional lives. And what we're seeing now is that these folks are working, and Cora's hands up. She can address specifically. I've heard stories of people working at UCSB, people working at Costco, people working at Cottage Hospital who are living in their cars. So yes, Randy. This is a bigger issue that we as a society need to start taking into account and start thinking about what this actually means. And I don't mean to put pressure on all of you, because you're all almost everybody here on the call is employed working on homeless people, working with the people who we know who are homeless and are trying to solve those problems. What I'm saying is that there's a significant number of people, like double, who are living in cars who we haven't completely reached. And so we have our work cut out for us. Mayor Prodi wanted to speak to this.
Well, you sort of answered my question about the status of whether they're working people that are the seniors. I've always worried about the seniors living on a fixed income, and it comes to the point where maybe they're evicted, and then they can't find anything that they can afford, and this is where they grew up and they've lived. Do we know the data on that? Like, are these people that are folks that have lived here, are working here, or on Social Security? Do we know if men versus women? I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
So when you say these people, are you talking about the people that we aren't in contact with?
Yeah, the people that are the seniors that we are in contact
Oh, the
with.
people that we're in contact with, so 37% of the people that I've counted, so 37% of this 166
Mhm.
are seniors. The demographics, I don't have just specifically demographics for seniors, but it's typically about 60-40 men to women. What I am seeing in Goleta, unfortunately, is just anecdotally, and people on the call know about this. There's a handful of women, senior women, who are living on the street, who are very resistant to our efforts to work with them. And so they come to Mary's Lunch, they come to the Showers of Blessing. They have been reluctant to engage with opportunities for shelter and for housing, but that's anecdotal. I can say I can picture 4 women who that's the situation. Quite a few people who are on fixed incomes and are living in their vehicles are seniors. That we're good with a picture is emerging of that population, and I can kind of give you, as we go forward, we can try to track that as much as possible. Cora's hands up. She may be able to address some of those questions right away. Go ahead, Cora.
Corey, you're muted.
Chuck, it's Deborah. Can you hear me? I was I was listening in because she's here with me now, but so there's a lot going on, and it's like yes, yes to everything. And yes, to the mayor's question, most of the seniors are on a fixed income and they're trying to pick up second jobs. And it's not an easy task for them. We've seen a lot of seniors lose their housing this past year over rents going up. Um, and we've seen, and some medical issues. They just can't work that second job anymore. We've also seen an influx of out-of-state people just very recently over the past 3 or 4 months. And they seem to be seniors as well. And benefits have been cut in their state, is some of the information we're getting. A lot of them just, um, just due to for different reasons, they've lost their jobs in other states or they've just, the environment, has gotten a bit harsh. And so they're coming here. So it would be interesting to know how many of those 166 people that were living in vehicles are from out of state, are new to homelessness. I would say a good percentage have become homeless within the past year. And so and you guys know the rest of the story, right? The rest of the story is that we just don't have enough housing. We've projected in the future. But I think the hardest situation, as the mayor was asking, is that we have seniors on a fixed income. And so the best we can do is get them into senior housing. And it just takes a lot of encouragement to get them to give up their vehicles because they never thought they'd be living in a vehicle. And had they not had that vehicle, they'd be in the streets. And so, we need to work a little bit more on that because most of the senior housing in Santa Barbara requires that you give up your vehicle. So, yeah, so lots of going on, but that's kind of what we're seeing lately.
Go ahead, Linda.
I was just curious. So city of Santa Barbara staff have shared anecdotally that this time of year is when there tend to be some of the more traveler individuals coming through, and it's not as much of a phenomenon throughout the rest of the year. But I was curious if that's something you notice in Goleta as well.
Definitely. We have a very large vehicle that Connor came on. Connor, do you want to talk about what you've seen?
Yeah. So apparently there's a large community of people that live on BLM land, but BLM only issues those permits for the winter months because of the fire hazard in the summer. And so there is one resident of Goleta now who during the winter he lives on BLM land, would like to do that in the summer too, but he's just not allowed to. And he said there's hundreds of people that live on BLM land in California, other parts of the West. So that's just one of those populations that comes into towns during the summer.
Yeah, and Chuck, the reason that our intake takes over an hour is because we get a lot of very specific information from people, and we're pretty good at picking up on people who are just traveling through and explaining to them that this is not the program that would work for them, and we try to encourage them to keep traveling if that's their plan.
Judy, you had your hand up. You're muted. Judy, you're on mute. There you go.
Okay. Um, I assume that the information you get is within the Goleta city limits, and I'm
Yes.
wondering about Isla Vista. Are there any studies done on that? Because it seems like there are a lot of homeless people in Isla Vista.
So what we have for Isla Vista and for Santa Barbara mostly is the point in time count, which is more of a snapshot. I don't have the data in front of me for the point in time count, but almost all jurisdictions saw some increase in homelessness over the last year. And definitely, Isla Vista is definitely a place with quite a few homeless folks. Anecdotally, there's several people on this call who work directly in Isla Vista. I don't know whether Jose or anybody else from Good Sam might want to say anything about what they see in IV, or Mary.
Yeah, we have about 40 people every week, but a lot of those are the same ones we've been seeing for the last 6, 7 years. So we'll see a few new ones, but not a lot. Of course, that doesn't mean they aren't out there, but I think Ellen from City Networks in Isla Vista, she might want to share something.
Hi, this is Jose with ARPA Outreach. I do see sometimes new clients in Goleta or IV, but they are mobile. They move around, so it's kind of hard to track them down and keep them in one area.
Um, I I've heard about the illegal aliens being rounded up in Goleta last week, but I haven't seen anything in the news, or I don't about that. Is that kept secret? And I understand that there are 6 people that were rounded up that come to the showers with Lessing in the area.
That's not something I can speak to, Judy. I
Yeah,
don't know if anybody
right.
else on the call can.
Mhm.
I hadn't heard about anything happening specifically at the Showers of Blessing site, but I can reach out to them
Oh,
and
not
ask about that.
not necessarily at the site, but people who didn't have weren't a place to hide from the authorities.
Yeah.
I can speak to that because I just spent about half an hour on the phone with one of our very beloved people who was taken last week. And I'm happy to report that he's happy, and when given the opportunity, he voluntarily deported so that he wouldn't be listed as deported. He just voluntarily left, and I believe the Mexican consulate is giving him the money to get home to his family. So he's in a good place, and I'm praising God for that because we were all very concerned about him over the weekend.
This is something that all of our homeless outreach providers are aware of, though, and are definitely keeping tabs on because we know that there is, some crossover between the population of undocumented immigrants and people experiencing homelessness in the area. So,
The person who was who voluntarily deported is this the individual who has a lot of family here?
No, he does have one son and a daughter-in-law here, but most of his family is either in the South or in like Oxnard area or down in um, a very southern part of Mexico, not Tijuana. He's in Tijuana right now and he's safe and he's happy, but yeah, that's about all I should probably say.
Okay, it's someone different than someone else.
Yeah, I
That was
yeah.
okay.
You can I'll put his name to you privately if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mayor Purdy?
I just like to say I haven't gotten any official word on how many non-documented folks have been picked up by ICE. I saw a video of ICE in Old Town, but I have not received any confirmation on how many, who, what exactly happened.
thank you all. Any other questions or comments for Chuck? All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate the report, Chuck, and appreciate the conversation, everyone. At this time, let's go ahead and go to all of our different outreach providers just to hear some updates. And I want to actually just start with county staff. Sarah, if you're able to share anything, as well as any updates you might have with regard to forthcoming Caltrans clearings or UPRR clearings.
Hi, Landon. Greetings all. I do not have any updates on clearings at this time, but will forward that request for information to Catherine Soto Vasquez, as she is helping with all things encampment related and clearing related. In terms of announcements for the good of the group, just that we have our regularly scheduled case conferencing continuing. We did have a migration to a new homeless management information system. The system is called Clarity. That system and its use is being rolled out in phases, and our providers are giving us some really good feedback on its use and capabilities. We are very excited to be moving towards the ability to share data with our managed care plan, CenCal, which will help to inform and improve the collaborative efforts of providers delivering the services that Medi-Cal has now expanded to provide for those experiencing homelessness. So, lots of good things in the works, and just very grateful for those on the call here and the efforts of our community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah, would you know there's a new housing project at Patterson and Kyriel that is a no place like home project, which means it's for people with disabilities. Are they keeping HCD informed of when that will open? Do you have a sense?
I don't have a date for open, but we are definitely in the loop and in conversations with all units that will be receiving referrals through coordinated entry. We are letting providers know about the importance of making sure all participants are document ready and connected, so that when those units open, we'll be able to quickly, efficiently, and effectively fill those units with the participants that have been tried.
And it's my understanding for you providers on the line that these will be distributed through coordinated entry. Is that your understanding too, Sarah?
I understand that there are specific set aside units for different
Okay.
priority groups. So
So
yes,
some maybe be well,
exactly.
okay.
All right, and then let's go to our Good Samaritan ARPA team.
Hello, everyone. This is Jose with Good Samaritan ARPA Outreach. Specific areas visited last week were some of the IB parks, some of the Goleta parks, Alameda Park, Ortega Park, Oak Park. Number of clients engaged last week were 25. There was no new enrollments, and we also continue to help our clients and getting them document ready, supporting them, giving them rights to social services, DMB. We also helped out a client removing their stuff from the county storage, and we continue to support our NNCs. We also met with the park rangers from Isla Vista, and we also had two clients into permanent housing last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And then can we hear from the Good Samaritan Surf 2 team focused on the waterways?
Hello, this is Destiny with Good Samaritan Shelter Surf 2 program. Last week, the team engaged with 22 clients and completed 2 new intakes. We were able to get one individual who was a longtime Goleta resident into permanent supportive housing after getting his housing voucher reinstated. We did several fulcrum pins with our main focus being San Pedro Creek, San Jose Creek, Las Vegas Creek, Glen Annie Creek, Atascadero Creek, San Antonio Creek, and Maria Ignacio Creek. All pins have been updated with detailed photos. Thank you.
Thank you, Destiny. Let's go to the CityNet team.
Hi, good afternoon. Is my mic working? It wasn't working earlier today.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Outside of just like requests for service, most of our outreach has been like Elwood, because that's where the biggest concentration of folks is for us right now. So we've just been out there a lot because it's kind of a
That's
full day event.
Elwood Station Road, just to be
Well,
clear.
yeah, going from the elementary school, walking that down to where Jubilee Church is, kind of that stretch. We did take someone from there to shelter today, which was exciting because she's been on that list for over a year now. So it was really exciting to get her in. And we did take the women's van out last week. Not a lot of luck. It seemed like there wasn't anyone out when we took it out. But we do continue to see kind of the same faces in Old Town at the marketplace. We were able to stop into the Ivy lunch really quickly, which was good. With Jordan, our HAP worker, who was able to cover Isla Vista. I think that's it in terms of specific outreach. You know, Cox Building is always kind of that stretch behind Old Town, checking on people flying signs. I get a lot of calls throughout the day from folks who've gotten my number from their friends or something. So a lot of that. But I can say that the seniors with fixed income is a major issue. I'd say the majority of my folks are on fixed income disability or just like retirement. You know, I think we say a lot like they should just get a second job, but even that is at this point really unsustainable. I commute an hour to work every day because I can't afford to live out here, working full time, and we're just going to continue to see more people enter homelessness at an exponential rate over the course of the next few years, honestly. Hoping to see some more tiny homes and transitional housing built.
Alan, quick question for you on the women's van that you mentioned. Do you have a regular schedule when you come to Goleta?
We share it with like all of our contracts, so Santa Barbara as well. We also took it up to Lompoc. We haven't established a schedule, but just kind of when it's free, because we also get it requested for specific cases of people in distress, for like a mobile safe space. But when it's free, we're taking it down. I'm hoping we can establish a set schedule when things kind of settle down with it.
Yeah, because I can imagine one of the things we do is a lot of referrals from the library and from the community center. And so if there's a regular schedule, because women can get showers there, they can get a lot of different. It's a navigation center. It's a mobile navigation center. It's really kind of an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
if we can let people know that that's a resource available and when it's coming, I think you'll see more traffic.
Yeah, right now we just kind of drive it around, and if there's folks, we just stop. I think the biggest thing to like navigate is not stopping at a place where it's going to attract attention that upsets people for like being perceived as drawing the homeless population to that area. So we're navigating that as well.
We can talk more offline about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ellen. All right, let's go to Cora and/or Deborah from the Safe Parking team.
Hi, this is Cora.
Hey, Cora.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank Deborah for stepping in for me while I was with a client. And we are doing our regular outreach. We're also responding to outreach requests. There was a couple out there in Goleta that we responded to last week. We were able to do the paperwork with one of them. Unfortunately, we couldn't get her into a lot for there's several reasons why we couldn't put her into a lot, but we're helping her work on those reasons, helping her pull together the things that she needs, and then we can get her assigned to a lot and start helping her. Well, we are helping her. We just can't put her in a lot. And yeah, and then we know the SURF team is actively out there working on all the hot spots, getting people document ready, getting, moving them into housing. That's actually where I was coming back from, which is why I was late, as I was taking somebody out to the Santa Maria Senior Apartments to look at those. So that's one of the things that we're actively trying to do is talk to a lot of these people that are living in their vehicles here and not able to afford to stay here, trying to talk them into maybe moving up to North County into some of the apartments that are available up there now. I finally set eyes on those Santa Maria Senior Apartments, and they're quite nice. So I'm hoping that will encourage more people to want to move up there. But other than that, that's what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you, Cora. All right. I see. Let's see. Why don't we go to Hilda? Any updates from Buena Tierra?
Hi. Thank you. So no updates on my end. Just we have a few residents that have moved in, still waiting on CES and any potential residents that come in. There's still wait list and we still have some units open, but as mentioned before, they come through CES and then, housing authority is are the ones that, see who's a good fit. Then the applications are sent out and, all of the paperwork needs to be submitted. So it's quite a bit of a process, and we're just hoping to get these units filled. I'm sure you guys are familiar right now. There are no vouchers to hand out, and so that's another challenge that I'm seeing is that yes, there's plenty of people on the wait list, but you also have to qualify to move in here. The residents have to be able to pay their rent going forward. Some do have assistance from rapid rehousing or other housing programs, but that is short-term assistance, and so we're just trying to find the best fit because the residents are the ones that are going to be living here, and it has to be a good fit for them, and so it's takes a little bit, but we do our best and we put our best foot forward and just keep on going.
So not all the units at Buena Tierra are what would be called Section 8 units or project-based voucher units?
Right. I mean, yes, the residents that are currently here that moved in sometime last year, all of those have vouchers. But the new ones moving in, there are no vouchers for the residents. So they have to have some type of income, be able to pay, whatever the portion is when they move in.
Okay.
And Chuck, this is Sarah, just to let you know that we are actively working to connect those who have been referred and who are the potential participants that will move in, connecting them to any and all available resources. So whether it be rapid rehousing, whatever that looks like, we are working and understanding that if assistance is needed, we are connecting those to the providers.
I'm wondering if you can share with me, Hilda, and if not you, then maybe you can tell me what are you charging for rent? Because our understanding of the project is that the rents are completely dependent on what you make. And so if you make $100, then your rent is $33. But it sounds like, is that still true, Sarah?
Yeah, so it's based on income category, and there's different rents for different categories.
Different categories. Okay. Okay.
What category the particular participant is in. It's our understanding there is a participant that will be moving in that is in a higher income category. So therefore his rent will be a different number than.
Got it.
Mayor Peretti.
I guess I'm a little need some education on this because I was always under the impression that Buena Tierra, there were vouchers, but also there were rooms for those that maybe are not physically able to work. Is that not the case? So everyone has to have a job? Help me understand that a little bit better. Maybe I have it confused.
Sure. Thank you for that question. So they don't necessarily have to have a job. They have to have some type of income that they'll be able to sustain their rent portion. Like Sarah just mentioned, those are different numbers. There's no specific numbers for these residents that are moving in. They do have to have somewhat of an income, or again, still like Sarah mentioned, be connected to some type of service provider that would be able to facilitate their costs moving in to Buena Tierra. But they don't have to work.
Everybody's required to pay something.
Yeah, for right now, yes.
Okay.
And so we're just working on that, and we work in collaboration with different providers and kind of see who would be a good fit. No, I'm sorry. Shouldn't say that, but who is able to sustain and just kind of move forward.
I guess I never realized that was our understanding. I didn't realize that.
I think there's always a minimum payment, regardless, even if there is a voucher in place and someone does have zero income. I think it's still a $50 minimum payment, and it can be offset with a letter. And I think that's only for like a couple months. So an individual does need to have some sort of income, whether that's, general relief or however they can obtain income through SSI or disability. And that's our goal, right? Is the service provider to help support these individuals so they do have some sort of income as well.
Thank you, Laura. Randy?
I hope this isn't too offbeat a question. There's a couple of veterinarians who have access to someone from Montecito, and anytime there's a pet that's brought in and people don't have any money, they can access from this particular fund or trust. So I'm asking if some sort of trust was set up like that for individuals, who knows what size that would be, would a trust that might offer to put up $50 a month for 6 months to help somebody get in while they're working other things out, would that be acceptable if somebody else, if there was such a trust or such a fund that would put up $300 for somebody?
So that's a great question. And the answer, I could go a lot of different directions with the answer. The simplest thing I can say is that the housing authorities, both City of Santa Barbara and County of Santa Barbara, are facing a situation where many of the residents that are there are struggling with their portions of their rent. And so one of the things that they're working on, both housing authorities, is developing exactly what you're talking about, which is some kind of flexible funding pool that they can use to support people for a short period of time, who it may be struggling, they're housed, but they may be struggling right now because of a family emergency, because different things that are going on. And so this is definitely an issue that both housing authorities are working on. I did receive a request from the County Housing Authority for the city of Goleta to consider putting money into that kind of a pool. And so it is something that, as we develop our strategies going forward, it is something that we, the city of Goleta, would consider. But certainly, if you know people in Montecito who want to do this, the housing authorities, I can tell you who to talk to. So it's definitely something that people should contribute to.
And it's not necessarily just people in Montecito.
No, I agree with you. And I think the housing authorities could make this problem more open. It could be because they both have nonprofit arms, and they could actually raise funding to do this. So it may be something that's kind of in the offing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Randy. All right, let's go to Deputy Warden.
I don't have any particular updates in regards to law enforcement stuff and homelessness for this month. We just noticed a big uptick in people living in vehicles. So that's natural every summer, like Chuck already said, and that you said, Landon. So that's about it.
All right, thank you. Well, with that, why don't we go ahead and open it up for community members? If you have any concerns or questions that you wanted to raise while we're all together. Anyone from the community?
I have a question, Landon. I've been thinking about Friendship Manor, because those of you who know about Friendship Manor over in Isla Vista, they charge around $1,000 for a small room, but that per month, but that includes all their food and their utilities. I don't know. It's a nonprofit run by a nonprofit, and I'm not sure how they make that work, but and they have a long waiting list. So, but $1,000 a month is so much more doable for the seniors that we're talking about that are living in their cars. I'm just wondering about, the possibility of someone, a city or someone, developing that sort of a facility for seniors that is independent living. It's not medical, but it provides 3 meals a day, and at a reasonable cost. I mean, amazingly reasonable cost.
So that's a top priority for the housing authorities, Mary. I believe Friendship Manor is part of the county housing authorities stock. The other organization that does these sorts of communities is People's Self-Help Housing. And I know that this is and then CityNet is also looking at doing housing development. So clearly the senior population who are on fixed incomes are a target for developing more affordable housing and creating these kinds of communities. And many of the projects that have been developed in the last 10 years have been just what you're talking about. So there's Grace Village near Hope Avenue in Santa Barbara. There's Gardens on Hope, which is also or one's on Lacumba and one's on Hope Avenue. Those were both senior projects. So it's definitely, Santa Barbara's demographics reflect that need very much. And so everybody who's involved in housing is thinking along those lines. The problem is that it's much more lucrative to build high-end housing. So, I mean, there's the whole housing discussion and what we can do.
So are all those facilities full that you mentioned?
I think pretty much every project that the county housing authorities have waiting lists, and the city housing authority. So yes, but that's for the folks that are on this call and the organizations that they represent, enroll their clients on these waiting lists. And so for clients that are seniors, when their number comes up, they can move in. Rona Barrett did a project, the former news anchor did a project up in Santa Ynez. So a lot of these senior projects are popular with cities and with the county, and the hope is that more get developed.
And that one is very nice. I've been up there to that one, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And my daddy lived in Friendship Manor for 9 years, and it was fine. It's not fancy at all, but it was just fine.
Yeah.
But the last time I talked to the admissions director over there, who's a friend of mine, she said they had like 150 on their waiting list. So that's bad. Yeah.
It's discouraging. Mayor Purdy?
I just wanted to remind everyone that the housing authority, the county housing authority, will be responsible for the 102 units on Heritage Ridge. So that's coming soon.
That's coming, and a certain percentage of those will be senior units as well, and family units. So their goal is to have a mix of different kinds of folks living there. It's a large 102 units is a large, very affordable housing project.
Yeah, can't come soon enough, but we are really excited to see some of the changes in the city of Goleta when these projects open up. Anything else from the community?
Where is Heritage Ridge?
It's off Los Caneros. It's just behind City Hall near the 101 freeway. It's a large development site that includes, I believe it's 400 units of market rate housing as well as 100 units of permanent supportive housing. It used to be the old Tobes property. That's what people referred to it as.
And is it being built now?
They're grading. I think we're looking at a year probably before everything gets built.
I think they've reached a little bit of a snag with some funding from the government, but they're working on it. They keep saying it's going to happen. So, yeah, we're just kind of holding our breath on that.
Do you know how it passed from Tobes?
No, there's a long history there.
Yeah. He was actually a strong supporter of affordable housing. He told the last meeting I ever had that I was attending with him he said he probably lost half of his friends from in Montecito from always bringing up the need for affordable housing over there.
The two other projects that's around Heritage Ridge is Willow Springs 1 and Willow Springs 2. And so those are affordable. Yeah.
Anything else from the community? All right, any other kind of final areas to bring up or concerns while we're all together? I don't have anything else on my list in terms of encampments or regions. Go ahead, Mayor Brody.
I know I've had to miss several meetings over the past, but I'm wondering our relationship with Union Pacific and how's that going as far as letting us know when they're going to come and do cleanups? Do we have a better relationship with them?
We do.
Okay, good.
We do. No, I have to say that, while it's unfortunate that both Caltrans and Union Pacific do encampment cleanups without a clear place for people to go, on the other side, from the city's perspective, in terms of public safety and fire danger, we've gotten a very favorable response from both Caltrans and Union Pacific. Union Pacific attends our Monday meetings pretty regularly. They have been informing us when when they feel a need to come and do clearings. And then the other thing that happened this year that is encouraging is that they've now given the sheriff's department authority to go onto Union Pacific property if there's a need there. Where before it was kind of a question mark. The sheriffs could go on if they had a warrant, but now there's an enforcement letter similar to any kind of private property where sheriffs can go forward if necessary. So the situation's changed pretty dramatically from 5 years ago in terms of our relationship with those two entities.
Great, that's great. Thank you.
I'm not seeing anything else. So I can go ahead and end the meeting. Just a reminder, hopefully see some of you at Meet Me in Old Town on July 10th at 5 p.m. And otherwise, our next meeting will be July 28th at noon with everyone. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a good week.
See everyone. Bye-bye.